Hello guys, this is a review of two killer animal movies. First, Arachnophobia, and then Boar. Arachnophobia is one of my favorite movies. I know that I say this often, but it's the truth. Let's get started with the plot, and then we'll get into everything else. The movie begins with a spider expert traveling to Venezuela in the hopes of finding undiscovered species of spiders. He hires obviously native guides to take him, and he also hires a photographer for the evidence. And they get there, they go deep into the depths of Venezuela, into this supposedly uninhabited piece of land, and they gather a lot of samples of bugs and insects, a lot of beautiful butterflies, exotic looking butterflies, and unfortunately they also get samples of spiders, some living, some dead. But what they don't know is that one of those living spiders hitchhiked its way back into the camping site where they were staying, and it bites the photographer. As soon as they find him, their venom is like instantly noticeable, because the minute it bites them, they start going like that, and they like turn red and start sweating. And he already had a fever, so people they didn't really know what caused it. They just knew that he died. So obviously they transfer the body back to, I think, California, in this small town called Canina, a rural area, very pretty. And that's where the main plot begins. The movie is about Dr. Jennings, I think. Let me check. Yeah, Dr. Jennings. It's Dr. Ross Jennings, but I don't want to call him Ross because I get it. I associate the name with the Friends character, so let's not do that. And Ross is used to living in a big city, lots of lights, lots of noises, along with his wife and two children, a boy and a girl. The minute they get off the truck, one of the kids launches a baseball, and the other one goes to get it. He notices a spider, and he yells to his dad, "Dad, there's a spider!" And he's like, "Stay away from it," because the dad is an arachnophobe. He's very much afraid of spiders. He had a traumatic experience as a baby that he still remembers to this day, where this, by the way, Dr. Jennings is played by Jeff Daniels, who starred in Dumb and Dumber alongside Jim Carrey. It's one of my favorite people to see on screen in comedy movies. I haven't had the pleasure of watching him act in other genres, but I'm pretty sure he's solid, because this one is kind of a mix, and he does a really good job. Anyway, yeah, when he was a baby, I am trying not to get sidetracked because I do have two movies. The spider crawls up and he becomes paralyzed because of the shock or something, and yeah, he can't be near them, obviously. They moved in there with the belief that he was going to inherit all of the patients from the town, because the local doctor was supposed to retire. But when he speaks to the doctor in person, the doctor lets him know, the local one, that he's not retiring anymore, and that there's nothing that he could do about it. An elderly woman takes a liking to Dr. Jennings, so she offers to throw him a party, which is what the other doctor did at the beginning, and that's how he garnered the trust and respect of all the townspeople. After the party, she takes out the cat, and as she's about to turn off the lamp, the spider bites her. Before that, though, she had been examined by the doctor, and she told her to get off some pills because she didn't need them. He's a Yale graduate, so he knows what he's talking about, and that's why townspeople have this kind of thing against him, especially the sheriff, who's kind of a bully. And the next day, he's working on the wine cellar, which has very bad wood, and his wife calls up to him and tells him, "Hey, I've been calling the lady this countless amount of times. She doesn't answer. Can you go check on her?" So he does that. He realizes that she's dead, and then the local doctor's like, "I don't believe it. she was on the pills and all these things, and Dr. Jennings tells him that he took her off the pills. He's like, what right did you have to do that? She said, well, she was my patient and I was working with her. So he kind of threatens him, and they form this very hostile relationship from the get-go. And at the funeral, the coach of the local high school football team, he hears that the lady that passed away was his only patient, so he offers to provide him with more business with all the kids from school. So he goes and does, and that's actually a very weird scene. I have to mention it if you know why, because I know that there's a lot of information about this movie. It's like from 1990, so I'm not very aware of it. But he's checking I kind of blinked out for a minute because I don't want to say inappropriate words if I don't have to. I never have to, but you know, sometimes I just express myself differently. So he's checking, and he kind of looks annoyed. I don't know if you guys pick up on that, but watch that scene, and he's checking each and every one of them, right? He goes like, and there's a scene where, like, the second to last one, he kind of goes like, I don't know if it's just my impression, but I was like, if I were him, you're not supposed to be like, you know, but as a doctor, but at the same time show some enthusiasm, like a little bit, you know, like it's like they're forcing him. Or maybe he's reacting like that because of the fact that he's realizing that he maybe made a mistake moving there, because they've moved countless amount of times, and you know, they spent a lot of money, they bought a house, etc. Anyway, back to the plot. Sorry, it's just like, if you could answer my questions, that'd be really, really helpful. There's they cut to a scene. The doctor stays there to watch them do their little practice, and they cut to a scene where there's a helmet on the floor, and the coach calls for another player to come in, and a spider finds its way inside the helmet. When he puts it on, they tackle him, and they don't know what's going on. They're like, is it because of the tackle? But it didn't seem that harsh. So they the doctor rushes over, and he realizes that he's dead. Now everybody's calling him Dr. Death because the people that he examines, they die. It's just a bad coincidence. They don't know what's going on. The doctor wants an autopsy done for all these people that are dying like this. Well, the several people that have died. But the local doctor and the sheriff refuse to do that. But eventually, to make the story short, because there's a lot of information, they start suspecting that it might be a spider, because they have all the symptoms. And they call Dr. Jennings calls a spider expert that I was talking about earlier, and he sends a helper, well, a student of his, because he's pretty busy. And they discover that, in fact, this spider that hitchhiked its way to the camping site found its way inside the coffin of the photographer, and he mated with another spider inside the barn of Dr. Jennings' property. So everything goes crazy from there. They call this guy the exterminator guy. This movie has a lot of comedy in it, and I read somewhere that they advertised it like a horror comedy or thriller comedy or something like that, but I think they put a lot of emphasis on the comedic aspect of it, and I don't think it's right. Not that comedy is any less of a genre than all the other ones, but when you team up horror and comedy, they always seem to degrade the value of the film. Not because it's bad to mix them, but because people have this notion that if you involve comedy, if you like add a little bit of that, then it just takes away from the formula of terror. And I don't agree with that necessarily. This movie, to me, if I was to compare it, and I'm sorry I'm getting distracted, but let's just mix everything in and then we'll get into the second movie. For me, this movie is like a Jaws. It's just not as serious as Jaws, but more so in that direction. And I have something else to compare it with this one. I don't like to compare, but I feel like when you review movies, it's necessary to compare so that people get an idea of what to expect. Anyway, yeah, could you imagine? He's an arachnophobe. He's so scared of spiders, but he has to stand up for himself and for his family. They realize that the nest is in his house and people are dying all around the surrounding areas. The deaths are beautiful. There's the death where these guys are eating popcorn watching Wheel of Fortune or something like that, and the spider goes inside of her mouth, so instantly she dies. And then when the doctor gets there, a spider crawls out of the guy's nose. I remember watching it when I was little. It's so epic. If you don't like spiders, if you're afraid of spiders, if they make you go the, you should definitely watch it. Obviously, if you love the genre, because this movie will definitely deliver in making you feel very uncomfortable, which is what some of us pay good money to to experience. It's what horror movies are about. The movie ends on a very good note. I didn't talk about the exterminator, did I? This guy is a very funny character. He expresses himself like he's doing the most important, the most sophisticated job in the world, and much respect to people in their business, because sometimes, you know, pests could really ruin people's lives. But he takes it up. I don't know. You have to watch it for yourself. There's no way to describe him. He's just a very, very funny man. And to add on to that, it's actually very funny when they encounter face to face the hybrid spiders, because they play this very funky music where the spider goes like this and like this, and then the people kind of go like that and like that. I don't know. It's I think it's very cute. The spiders are very awesome. I read somewhere that they brought them from New Zealand. They were obviously not very venomous. That's how you say it. So yeah, but then the main one, the general or something, that was CGI, or it was practical effects. I don't know, but it wasn't a real spider. This movie is amazing. At the very end, they survive. They manage to get everybody out of the house in time, and they go back to New York, where they're praising their decision to move back. They're like, okay, we know what to expect here. And then an earthquake happens, and they go check on the kids. So it ends on an ironic note. The movie, then that's it for the plot, is very well made. Like, I really miss these type of movies. As a 90s baby, I watched it when I was a kid. I'm sure a lot of people from that era watched it as well. I know all my family members that are older than me watched it as well, and they all loved it. It's really fun. Like I said, the humor in it doesn't take away from the fact that it's a serious film. For me, it's serious. You might not agree with that, but I really do think it's serious. It's not a dumb movie where they just give you everything really fast and they don't think about stuff. I think it's well thought out and executed perfectly. The performances were amazing. Gosh, okay, I have to talk, like, I don't want to single anyone out because everybody did a fantastic job, but especially the wife. I apologize for not memorizing their names. The wife of Dr. Jennings. I'm used to seeing these beautiful women or beautiful men, and they just get by on their looks. Not that they don't have talent, they have talent, but they have a way of performing that kind of distracts you from anything that you're watching. It derails from the main path that you're supposed to be on. But this woman really, really nails it. It's amazing. When she has to be romantic, she's romantic. When she has to be funny, she's funny. When she has to be worried, she's worried. And not for 1 second do I feel like I'm watching a movie. I don't feel like I'm watching a prepared actress, a trained actress. I feel like I'm watching a real woman. It reminds me of real people. And she's so beautiful. So to pull that off, you know, I know it's kind of prejudice, but when you look like me, then you have you either have to be talented, have to be funny, you know. But when you're very handsome, when you're very beautiful, like her, it's very easy, like I said, to just drag along or give a performance that's a little bit more robotic. And her performance was so natural. It didn't look to me like she was trying to get the best angle and trying to look pretty all the time. So I admire that. The movie is, like I said, very intelligent, awesome. Now let's get to Boar. Why did I want to do 2 movies? Because sometimes I feel like I could, if the movie review is going to be below 6 minutes, then I'm not going to post it. So I just rather mix them in. This is one of my favorites. This isn't one of my favorites. This movie's called Boar, and it's about a family going back to Australia, the beautiful landscapes of Australia, just to reconnect with other family members. The only American guy there, I believe, is the father of the family. It's, you know, just a typical family trying to get together with other family members there. I only watched it once, but I think I got a very good idea of the movie. The movie doesn't really have too much of anything for me to really have to analyze it. It's about wild boars. There's this folk tale going around town that there are giant boars killing people, and most of them, everybody knows about it, but most of them do not believe it. They're very skeptical about that. So when this family gets there, they have their own little get together in, like, near a river or something like that, and that's when the deaths start to occur. Honestly, that's what the movie's about. And then the boar just chases everybody around, kills a few guys. The female characters make it to the end. It's how can I explain? It doesn't have fantastic kills. I feel like the movie was good. It did become a little bit stale near the middle. I felt like there were a lot of dark scenes, so if they maybe lit up the background, it would have been a little bit better, because sometimes I didn't know what was going on when they were showing a dialogue between other characters in the movie, not the main ones that I just mentioned. And I was like, what is going on? I can't even see anything. Like I said, the kills were not very memorable, but they were there. The acting was good. The acting was good. The movie as a whole, I enjoyed it, but it's one of those movies that you get, like, grab a beer or a juice, you know, just like maybe hang out with friends and just watch it, have fun, or just by yourself, you know, if you're just trying to unwind. You can't overthink this movie. You can't be overcritical, which is what I'm trying not to be. But in comparison to something like this, which is kind of why I chosen, not just because they're killer animal movies, but because this one, I feel it's more like a Jaws, just a little bit below Jaws, but with that feeling, the tone. And this one is more like that movie about zombie beavers or something like that. That I have to admit that I didn't watch it, but I know people who watched it, and they said that it wasn't very good. I can't say that because, like I said, I haven't watched it, but I watched the trailer, and I now, after watching so many movies, I could get an idea of what type of movie it is, and this is more like that. I don't think it's to that level either. It's a little bit higher, but it's still not a movie that you can't go in too critical, because you're gonna be disappointed. But like I said at the beginning, if you want to just have fun, just watch something, an animal killing people, this is the one for you. I think it could have done a bit more with more more of a teenage this word doesn't exist, but teenagey feeling, teenagey ambience, like the Lake Placid movies that I adore to death and that I'm gonna review soon. Oh my gosh, I hope the video doesn't cut off. Yeah, it could have done with, like, you know, more bikini shots, that type of stuff, more comedy, more of like the typical people, because they try to make it a little bit more serious, but we can't take it that serious because the movie as a whole doesn't, you know, it's not as sturdy for us to take it that serious. I'd give Arachnophobia a rating of 9 out of 10 in its category, maybe 9.5 out of 10. This movie, I give it a 6 out of 10. Like I said, it's not terrible at all by any means in my opinion, but it's just a fun movie, very light movie. So 6 out of 10. And that's it. Thank you for watching.